Right, so Suella Braverman. Seems like it's almost every other day she's done something to warrant a video, be it shameless pitching against migrants, trying to get a private speed awareness course and abusing her position to do so, speaking at hard-right conferences, setting out her sales pitch to replace Rishi Sunak, her hardline response to protesters, her prison boat arriving for a refit here despite us only renting it. What an epic display of negotiation that must have been. Not. Yet now here we are, yet another scandal. Sunak hand-wringing over it. No doubt he's no skin left on them at this point. For heaven's sake, he's so weak, he couldn't even launch an investigation into her over the speeding ticket offence without running it past the independent advisor, and has today issued a letter basically telling Braverman, there, it's okay. The ethics advisor, Laurie Magnus, can't do anything without my permission anyway, so nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. I wonder how that conversation with Sir Laurie Magnus's ethics advisor went anyway. She's at it again, Laurie. Do you want me to investigate then? Nah, can't afford to lose her. The ERG will have my head on a spike by tea time. Something like that? Well, at it again might be the appropriate word. But you can't say much this time, Rishi, as she appears to have taken a leaf out of your book. We're back to Rwanda. We know Braverman cannot wait to start deporting people, dreams of it, yet despite rumours of Sunak's wife having connections to Rwanda, raising questions about the Sunaks having their grubby fingers in yet more dirty pies, it seems Braverman definitely does. And the hypocrisy of Sunak acting against her now will make him wish he'd ditched her over the speeding ticket instead. It has emerged that Suella Braverman has direct business links to Rwanda in yet another apparent breach of the ministerial code, as she hadn't declared them. She is the co-founder of a charity called the Africa Justice Foundation, co-founded with, drumroll please, Cherie Blair, Tony Blair's wife. Yes, Tory Town, bloodstained Blair, Mr. 1 million dead Iraqis, and the template for Keir Starmer. I'll take this moment to issue my regular reminder that Keir Starmer is indeed a Tory, just like Blair was before him. Anyway, Braverman and this charity. It was set up in 2011 by Cherie Blair and had Suella Braverman, then Suella Fernandez, as its director. And the purpose of this charity was to promote the rule of law in Africa, and in typical Blair style. It was all about wooing donors, big business to stump up cash for African scholarships, literacy programs and the like, to lift Africa out of the dark ages and help solve its own problems. All very altruistic, I'm sure. But, and there's always a but when it comes to a Blair, if you're getting big business and donors to pay for things. What are they getting out of it? Donors don't stump up cash for nothing, of course. And when the keynote speaker was an executive director from diamond mining firm De Beers, all the talk going on about natural resources that was going on at this charity launch had a little bit of a sinister undertone, didn't it? But this isn't about the Blairs. Lord knows it's not so much a case of fingers in pies with them, more entire hands. But this is about Braverman. Natural resources might have been the prize all eyes were on, but the charity was to train lawyers, and Braverman is, as we know, one of them, this being 4 years before she entered Parliament, and indeed her work for the charity only ended when she became MP for Fareham. One of the African countries the Africa Justice Foundation worked in was Rwanda, training lawyers there. Came very close to the government of Paul Kagame, a man who has been president of Rwanda for 23 years now. So that's not suspicious in and of itself at all, is it? He's an authoritarian. Human rights groups consider him politically repressive. No wonder Braverman and the Tories like him so much, really. And of course, Amnesty International, as well as others, have said Rwanda under Kagame is a place where torture, murder and kidnappings take place. It isn't a safe country. It is posited to be. Actually, Rwanda ended up being the focus of this charity's work, broadened later to include the likes of Ghana or Ethiopia, but Rwanda was the flagship country. The fact is, though, a number of the students Braverman and Blair's charity helped in Rwanda now work for Kagame. Some 19 individuals working in government in, amongst other areas, the office of the president himself, the office of the prime minister, and the office of the Rwandan Law Commission, so at all levels. Therefore, Suella Braverman has got pretty solid ties to President Kagame, going back years before she even became a politician. And these former trainees were, of course, instrumental in the drawing up of the deportation plans to Rwanda with the UK government, with Home Secretary Suella Braverman and her predecessors, legally binding stuff, as such arrangements always are, obviously. Now, if you ever ask yourself why Rwanda, of all places for this government policy, well, you might have had some of that answered here. There's a lot to be answered here, it seems. And even though the deal with Rwanda was initially begun by Braverman's predecessor, Priti Patel, it has been expanded significantly by Braverman, and with her connections to the Kagame regime, it's really not hard to see why that now is it? Now, it can be argued that because she quit the role before becoming an MP, she never had to declare an interest here. However, she's now the Home Secretary, became Home Secretary last year, and has never declared a connection to Rwanda since taking up that post, despite her obvious prior connections directly affecting, and can be argued, benefiting government deportation policy now. Casts a new light on why Sunak won't sack her as well, doesn't it? She's his in with the Rwandans as well, with his hard right backbenchers. His stop the boats pledge may well rely on hanging on to her after all. Like I said a minute ago, the Rwandan policy was on the table as a result of Priti Patel. So why did Braverman not declare her interest in Rwandan state affairs via her charity work? Another conflict of interest gone undeclared. Another possible breaking of the ministerial code being announced virtually at the same time. Sunak says he won't probe the speeding ticket issue any further, so egg on face for him too. If only he possessed a spine, he might not keep getting shown up by the same minister time after time. Well, pressure is coming to bear on him by other Tories, it seems, who have had enough of her, are now saying Braverman is a total liability and needs to be sacked. They've been whinging to the whips in light of the speeding ticket scandal, and I'm sure they would have gone positively puce with rage upon hearing Sunak has let Braverman off. But with this fiasco now happening, undermining the entire Tory Rwandan policy, another potential ministerial code breach, they will be going apoplectic behind the scenes, I'm sure. I think she's in more trouble now than she was over the ticket. She's direct ties to the Rwandan government through charity work she did before becoming an MP. She didn't declare it when she became Home Secretary, when policy concerning Rwanda was already on the table. She's carried on building on that policy, all whilst there's an outstanding conflict of interest. Seems like a ministerial code failing to me, which is supposed to warrant a resignation. Braverman resigned fast enough and she got caught out sending government emails from her personal email account, the Leaky Sue scandal. This seems very open and shut like that one as well. It might have been charity work. It might have been before she became an MP, but that is irrelevant. Official government guidelines are that it is a minister's own responsibility to ensure they avoid a conflict of interest or the perception of a conflict of interest. They are urged to take advice on this from their permanent secretaries and the independent advisor on ministerial interests. That is what they are there for. Ministers should err on the side of disclosure if in doubt. Examples given of such things in the advice that things that ought to be declared include directorships and links to charities. Literally, it's a given example. Any connections with foreign governments are particularly sensitive, it says as well. Jeez, 2 for 2. Suella Braverman is making UK policy in connection with Rwanda when she has a history with that government and with lawyers working within that government to this day that she helped see get trained. It's a great thing to help Africa train more lawyers, I'm sure. The price in precious stones, oil, etc., the perks to those donors who funded it all, notwithstanding, of course. But they now work for a government doing deals with our government, and a department run by someone those lawyers will have a past relationship with. That's a conflict of interest. And that really is the end of it, surely, and really should be the end of Braverman. Her defense right now is that she didn't declare it because it wasn't necessary. I think she's very wrong. And I think this one is so serious, Sunak won't be able to hide from doing what is necessary this time. An investigation needs to be launched. Braverman ought not to be able to survive it, frankly. It ought to wipe the gleefulness she shows when talking about her dreams of deportations straight off her face. And of course, once you have liked, shared and subscribed to the channel, looking forward to another dose of Damo-inflected diatribe, putting the world to rights and political discourse in plain-spoken English, Cornish accent aside. You can follow up this video with hundreds more pieces of my content, but may I recommend this one as a first stop, where Braverman's Rwanda scheme, speaking in terms of cash benefits for some, might well amount to a cash for humans scandal too. And I'll see you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.